Okay, my Mickey says it's 7 p.m., so we will get rolling. We have some guests who signed in. No one indicated they wanted to address the board this evening, so we will get right down to business. Mr. Dowling has another engagement before long, and we appreciate him being here. Brian is here acting as the chair of the tech committee. The tech committee spent a great deal of time preparing, helping with the RFP, reviewing the responses, preparing, going through the process of interviews. A couple of you were there for that. And for my nickel, I'm deferring to them to a great extent because the members of the tech committee are department heads that are the ones primarily needing the service, from Brian's office to the budget office, planning, and so on. They know what the questions are, they know what the problems have been, they know where the issues are with support. And a big part of the focus has been for support services. In support services where we could not just come in and have a problem fixed, but be part of what the problem was, how do we resolve it, so maybe next time I know what to do. And knowledge is power. There were 4 companies that responded. There were 2 that were clearly the respondents who reacted to our needs most accurately. Looked like companies that would be there for us when we had issues. As you know, when the computer's down, some days the software doesn't work, we have huge problems. It's hard for the humans to work. Many things are simply driven that way, period. And Brian has agreed to represent the group and share their findings. We need to work to come up with a recommendation as soon as tonight if we can. Because we need to award that. We need to get that company on board. It's not a small task. And we want to do that while we've got some time for some overlap and transition with TJ. So keep that in mind. Brian?
Well, a lot of time. I would like to open to say that there's not really a problem as a problem. It is an issue of, well, it's in front of you because no matter what the entity, we need internet technology, computer networking, server assistance, and TJ's plate is very full. One of the directives provided to us, part of the committee is Pat Bowen, Scott Stoddard, Alan Reese, Trevor Cole, Jackie, who myself and Bernie's been sitting in. Occasionally Marty will be sitting in. So Pat put together an RFP, which we approved a few weeks ago. We sent it out. We had 4 responses, as Bernie said. The directive after getting the responses was to really pay attention to cost, value, expertise, and capacity. So following such directive, when we read through the proposals, you'll have to understand that all 4 proposals are written in 4 different ways. And there's a lot of learning curve involved. There's a lot of language I was unfamiliar with. Thank you very much for the project. It picked me up a little bit. So based on the initial analysis, what I did was I took an Excel spreadsheet and spread it all out and laid all the columns, all the companies down, and side by side of them like I would comparing a house, because I have no idea what's on and what's not. Using the guidelines, cost, value, expertise, and capacity, the first company was way too high cost-wise. So a company out in New Jersey based on parameters of their living areas, not ours. It could be just cost of location second, the capacity, well, the other one on cost and capacity, was low bid, and it was way too low for what we would consider is far lower than even what TJ was charging us. So, we were skeptical about, services when your quote's under what TJ had already done. So, that left two companies, one being Twin State, local, and the other being Stored Tech, which is out of Queensbury but has a local presence, according to them. So we, as a group, narrowed down the choices, and we invited both these companies to come in and make presentations here to, I don't know if Terry was with us. No, but somebody here was with us when they did. And both of them provided their perspective. They both got to look at our infrastructure here. TJ took them around and described what we have and what he's done. Both were actually complimentary of what TJ has done to where we're at the state. He is, with his shoestring budget, done a really terrific job. You don't want to leave this table not knowing and not telling you, and that was represented by both of these companies. They said, whoa, we did more than he had only a shoestring to do what he did. When we examined the companies a little more detailed-wise, we found some slight differences in their structure and how it meets the town of Plattsburgh's needs. And we did have them come in. Be forthright, Twin State was significantly higher in cost than Stored Tech on the initial bid. But we took it upon ourselves to say, okay, you guys have a chance now to see our system, go back home and rewrite your quote specs again and submit the two as you have now seen what needs to be done. And they came back in again. And Twin State had significantly reduced their bid. Stored Tech had raised their bid by $2 a machine. That being some internet protection software that they had not done. So the bids for Stored Tech remained really relatively close. Twin State was significantly lower, to a tune of almost 30% lower. Even at that, when we took up a spreadsheet, we set.
Everyone has a copy of that, just for
They do have it,
information.
okay.
Yes.
So the revised thing that Bernie passed out, what we did was set a fixed set of parameters here. What will it cost us under these conditions? And we tried to measure what the town's needs would be in a month, with labor, with things, anticipating the number of machines and the things. So we worked out a 20-hour labor month thing, right, that's on your quote, and we came up with the prices. You can see at the very bottom, there was still a slight difference in the quotes. So there was a lot of discussion on more about what our needs are and which company would most likely be better suited to town's needs. And in our interview process, we found that Twin State has a vibrant anti-malware, attack, and the kinds of things that we would want for protection from an invasive hacker, malware. They're very proactive in that area. They have purchased significant cost software to test our systems to find weaknesses, and had provided advice along the security side of our practice. But as a town, and even with a chat with TJ, we don't find that the town is susceptible the way some other companies would be to an invasive hacker type of attack. That we would be the middleman for something, but not the end point, which is significantly different. If I was Target and I'm covering credit card numbers, that's one thing, but I'm the government and we're covering, so we are secured to the best we can from one side, and TJ has us relatively well enveloped from that side too. StoreTech had the correct answers for cybersecurity. They have also managed more with governmental services in the computer side of it. When pressed, we understood that Twin State has a lot of phone services with Connecticut, with a variety of municipalities, but not so much computer IT as we were looking for. StoreTech has some references that Trevor called on, Town of Queensberry, Glens Falls Police Department. He made some reference calls, and all the service providers that were provided, Trevor checked on, found that StoreTech was a positive company for their needs. So we found that relationship with other governments in the computer capacity was also an asset on the StoreTech position. So in following the guidelines of cost, value, expertise, and capacity, the committee has, going through all the variety of things, actually lend support to a tentative one-year contract to StoreTech and see where it goes at the end of the one-year evaluation period, with on that contract options to continue so that we don't run through this RFP process time and time again so quickly as well. That's where we stand for the StoreTech from the committee standpoint. Would there be any questions?
Brian, in the past, TJ's helped us when we were expanding our services, workstations and such, upgrading our workstations. Will StoreTech be able to help us with expanding our equipment and updating our equipment?
Correct. The arrangement would be for the labor part of it, but the hardware part of it is not included in the quote. So to buy a server comes out of our budget.
I understand that, but they have access to equipment, like TJ didn't provide it for us either. We had to buy it from him, but he advised us as to what we would need.
Correct.
And made the recommendations and got the quotes for us.
Correct. Part of the interview process went off of track on the RFP. In both cases, we stayed, when we interviewed, we stayed the course on both entities so that we didn't treat them unfairly.
Mm-hmm.
But part of the discussion was our next step, which an issue that is a concern is disaster recovery. Basically, if this place crashed, can we get back up into speed? StoreTech provided us with a very positive looking forward image of space in PrimeLink's own headquarters to do a virtual server. So, down the road, instead of having our own room, we take this and we just put it in a secure space of PrimeLink, and then our stuff for that disaster recovery is now started to be stored. There will be expenses to that, but at least they started mapping us out in that direction, okay? And then there's so much to say, okay, it's gonna run you this much, so plan for your budgeting this way, and that way we can overcome it. And I will not ad lib, but, I didn't bring the book, but Twin State quoted us on something for that, and it was a $15,000 to $20,000 swing for a new server, and they're like, whoa, that kind of stuff in the town's budgetary thing has to be addressed early in the whole budgeting process. You're not springing $15,000 onto the town now, we just don't afford it. So in our discussion, StoreTech did look out forward, and they said that they do have the capability of doing exactly that, hands-on, come in, get Jackie set up with a computer, get me set up with a computer, or Mel, or the three offices right now still needed to be hang out. We buy it, but then they do all the hookups and the paths and this stuff.
Okay.
Did Twin State say something about storing in the cloud or something?
They did, they have a place in Connecticut.
And but what we would do with PrimeLink would be similar?
Very similar.
Would actually be advantageous to do it with the server we currently have a relationship with versus via cloud and another state
Well, I just wanted to check on that.
They also realized, we shared, there's a lot of the grunt work that gets done by our building and grounds people when we have to do wiring, drilling and whatnot. And they completely understood that service would still be used to keep our costs down. We would also keep Dave Kimmel Services under agreement for specifically our website activity. Dave also becomes another local expert that we can call on, just to get another opinion, the kinds of things you're talking
Right.
about, if you want to consult. I think Dave has the best interest of the town deeply in his heart, and I think, it would be good to call on him as well. We found, the individuals is a lot, and it's hard because, Twin State didn't do anything wrong through the process. They're very capable, obviously, and a business in the community, but relationships are important, and we felt StoreTech, the personnel behind the service would work well with us, and the reference calls supported that as well, and as recent as today, we had a couple of things, the 11th hour surface, and it was positive, comfortable working with them. And they would have that depth that we've missed with a one-man service.
In the time that I spent, which was not a large amount of time, but in the time that I spent with the project, it was clear that StoreTech had a much broader range of experience with municipal services. They have a good number of municipal clients through this north-south axis between here and Glens Falls and south of Glens Falls. And it's not an area that Twin State has nearly as much penetration in that client category.
Right. That's it, and right, it's, exactly. The needs, my phone system is already Twin State, and they do a terrific job. It is our computer systems that they really are emphasizing.
But idiosyncrasies in municipality between what a clerk's office needs, what, building and a water department needs, and our planning department, with GIS, and the complexities where we use technology. That municipal experience, we felt would be very good.
We need to caveat, both these companies will do a lot of their work remotely, but TJ does that now too. I mean, he could be on vacation on the beach and you say you have a problem, he's there. So the service side, that side of it, you may say, well, where are they? They're always gonna be around. It is when that new box comes in that somebody's gonna come in. We did have a question because court said they need to be fingerprinted or, and that was something in our whole perspective we had to consider. But they found that no problem. We figured they're already servicing, he said, Glens Falls or Queensberry court system and the police department, so their personnel are gone through background checks.
Another point that I believe Twin State representative brought up was that the SCADA systems were needed to be separate from the other systems as much as possible, and that they didn't have as much security and they were vulnerable. Is that addressed in the one that we have?
StoreTech did not address SCADA systems in the manner that Twin State did, but I don't believe that they would be any less responsible than Twin State could be in the SCADA department. And I'm not versed as to what SCADA capabilities are. I know that's going to be monitoring our water systems is what Scott has that set up for. So I can't answer your question thoroughly.
There's some software that the challenges have to be addressed by the software company versus a tech company because there are, there's specific language, it's an operating system.
All-
If you didn't design it, you may not know how to do more than the basic kind of troubleshooting.
What Twin State provided was an attack on our, they have the ability to test our SCADA system by taking a hacker's position and attacking our system. Ethical hacking, is that what we call it? And I honestly can't attest to what we have in place for, what TJ may even have in place for that kind of an attack on our system. So I can't answer your question.
Well, part of it was that, I believe, with this sort of upgrade in many respects, that we wanted to make sure that we were covered on all these things in terms of security.
And we can in-depth it with StoryTech a little bit more.
But there's a lot of, but my understanding, Tom, is that there's a lot of safeguards, like we were talking about the program that Jackie's using, to do online billing, and that there's a certain PCI compliance. Harris has, certain systems in place and stuff like that. So there's usually a benchmark for what the software needs to use. What I'm glad to hear is that there is a certain level of experience with other municipalities, because as we onboard a new type of software, that they may be more familiar with it, which may help address some of the bugs that tend to happen, which cuts down on the efficiency, which costs money, and then, all that other type of stuff. No doubt, technology is here to stay, and it is so pervasive in all things that we do. And people joke all the time when I bring my computer and stuff, but as people talk about stuff, I'm constantly bringing up various things, and it's right at your fingertips. You need to have that ability. And the one thing that I really do like is, as I'm looking through this breakdown here of the revised quotes, is it was within the general scope of around the price, but it wasn't over the top on some of the items. There was not the setup fee, which I was happy to see. My only concern, and we will find this out in about a year or so, is do they come back at us after working within our, town and say, we need to bump this up because it's not really what it needs to be. But
And that's why we
time will
propose a one-year
Yeah.
renewable,
yeah,
rather than get ourselves out there too
Yep.
far. And I know Brian has some things, and we can kind of talk about it, but we have a very
Fine.
lengthy agenda tonight also. Are we in agreement with the recommendation to do a one-year contract with StoryTech? If so, I will have a resolution prepared for next Monday.
Brian, let me just ask one question. Obviously, if somebody hacked into the system, there could be tremendous loss and so forth. Do any of these companies ever indemnify you for these losses?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
We have
You know what I did?
insurance that covers
Insurance
us.
is covered? Okay.
I also put a Hudson and Russ thing, I think I left it in, that this legal firm is putting up a seminar for attorneys on ethical hacking, on cybersecurity in municipalities. I left a part of that.
Both companies, and you can tell it was very genuine, very, very spontaneous, complimented the software, and I can't tell you what it is either, but I know they were very specific with what TJ had installed, that it was, about as good as you can put at this level. But we also have layers of security within certain programs, as you said. We have layers of security with PrimeLink. And then of course we have the insurance. One of the biggest things that came out, and we will want to talk about it, is the ability of us to recover in the event of a devastating loss. And it isn't a cyber theft loss only, it's a catastrophic environmental issue, like a flood, a fire, a hurricane. We can't just do nothing for days while we're uploading new software to new computers. And the systems are such, and by using PrimeLink, we could literally get a new piece of hardware and tap right in, like you're back at your desktop,
Right.
the day of
The
the fire.
concept of the virtual and PrimeLink was, not only am I saving my data, but I'm saving the applications as well.
Correct.
And that is its entirety. So your Harris and Jackie and your IDS, wherever they use in the back, my V4, and, you know, all the applications are being backed up, not just the data part of it.
Well, more and more,
Because we already back up the data offsite.
Right.
and more on licenses, for example, you're not, you know, taking a disk or USB or anything, you know, and downloading it to your computer. It's all cloud-based, based on the license for your documents and things like that, and apps.
So, if you just want, Town of Queensbury, Village of Lake George, Town of Port Edward, Town of Milton, Town of Horicon, Town of Minerva, Town of Hadley, City of Glens Falls Police Department. So it is very apparent that down in their neck of the woods, they are strong. They are, you know, and I think that they will provide us the same level of service, because I think they want to expand. I think they found themselves a niche.
Was it Mark?
Alan Van Tassel is his name. Yeah.
Brian had a really good question today. It was one of the ones we made a direct call on.
Shaw is part of the
Yeah.
problem.
I called Alan's cell phone, which he took right away and was ready to engage. And the question got a little more complex, so he said, well, if you give me 5 minutes, I can be at my office and on the desk phone, and sure. And they picked up the service call charges. They do have a Plattsburgh office, but obviously their key tech people are in Glens Falls. So, wait a minute, are we going to be paying for the road trip from Glens Falls to get to Plattsburgh? The normal answer to that question is yes. Many of times, I'm sorry, Counselor, attorneys we've had to bring in will charge us from the minute they leave their office while they're driving up the road to get here.
Do you have a problem with that?
As long as you're not doing it.
And, I mean, his immediate response, because it was their standard procedure, is no. Any charges go out of your Plattsburgh office. You know, basically, it's not our fault that that tech happens to be in Glens Falls today. Yeah, it was pretty good. You know, it wouldn't have been unreasonable for the other answers, so. I think, you know, I think we'd be in good hands as well, and we will prepare that resolution. I want to, you know, formally thank you. I know I need to do the same with everyone else. A lot of time was spent getting here.
We did get some time, but, you know, and I am just the ad hoc. Trevor's really the header of this committee.
Good team.
Actually, it's all, yeah, the committee is very working. There's no domination in committees.
I would say about 2 years ago, this is the team that in department head meetings were expressing concern with computers that weren't updated, software that wasn't installed, programs that weren't operative, and we went through a lot of steps.
Addressed.
And here we are.
And Meg knows one of the people on the sport tech thing, so.
Owner, Mark, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, good.
That's
They just opened the Plattsburgh office. And
Where is that Plattsburgh
it's
office?
on Clinton Street.
Obviously, they're moving to the town now.
Get the council to
That's in the contract.
We write that in. Oh, we'll give them, you know, 6
I don't
weeks.
know if we can get a cheap place like Clinton Street in the town, no. Oh, did I say that?
Anyone have
Turn that
anything
thing
else for Brian? Anything else for Brian? No, thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you very much
Let
for your
everyone
time,
else know,
council.
and we'll go forward.
All right, have a nice day.
The second item, I don't see, I thought I saw a shadow. I don't see Dave Duquette out there. Our next item that we need to talk about is dog control services. And I'm just looking to see if we have a resolution for that coming up. I kind of lose track of these after a while.
It's in mine, right behind,
As a draft resolution?
not as a resolution,
Okay.
but
Yes,
sample contract.
We'll need to do that also, to enter into an agreement for the coming year. It's not gonna take a lot of rocket science because we have an option of one now. Dave has had
Makes it easy.
a good experience with Elmore. I mean, there were some reasons we went to Adirondack for a while, but he's been pleased. He's spoken with them, I've spoken with them. They came in when Adirondack suddenly closed. There was absolutely no lengthy conversation when I indicated we would prorate what we had budgeted for the year for Adirondack, and that's what they would get for the balance of the year. They said thank you. So we feel pretty good about that and having that agreement set up. They've already agreed to the $6,500 figure, which is the same number we had this year, and I think maybe even the year before, for the same services, so there was absolutely no cost increase. We're still talking about the agreement. I don't know if you want to address that at all, Jim. We've had a very simple and concise one-page document that seemed to service. There's been some question by other municipalities that maybe it needed greater detail and more description. My comment with the powers that be at Elmore was, you just give us what you're ready to use and we'll have it reviewed. We don't have any real problems with the current agreement, and if it gets upgraded, the town of Peru especially was very concerned about some of the language. So as soon as I get an agreement, we'll have that in a resolution. Price is the same, services appear to be good.
And the other thing I'd add, I think we're gonna have a 30-day out clause, so not only that, this is one very simple one-page, worked fine for 8 years, never had a problem. Dave's happy with it, and you have a 30-day out clause, so nothing catastrophic is gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the near.
The other thing I saw within the agreement is toward the bottom, it says third,
Is it the short version or the long one?
Short.
short,
Okay?
one page. Municipality agrees to pay the aforesaid sum within 30 days of the date of this agreement. Well, the sum is a sum per day that they have a dog in their care. So it doesn't really fit to refer to it in that fashion.
This contract here that we're looking at, Marty, though, was a contract to carry us through for the rest of the year. And I believe that the new agreement that we have with them, that'll be a lump sum amount.
That's in the
The $6,500.
We pay them a lump sum, and then we pay them $15 for each day that they have a dog?
No.
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 That's only when they're dealing with a dangerous dog that they have to take into control.
Yeah, they've had some problems with a dangerous dog. Dave's comment to that is, we don't bring a dangerous dog to them.
Mhm.
They may have had that experience with other municipalities, where their dog control officer brought it there and said, he's yours now. We haven't done that.
And that paragraph specifically says the owner will pay $15. It doesn't say the municipality.
Well, which gets to be a problem when you don't know who the owner is,
Yeah.
which happens.
Yeah.
But we don't see that as a real concern for us. And I don't know what the final agreement will look like, because that's some of the stuff they're talking about. We'll just have to review it. There were two other issues that Dave was very interested in. One was a reciprocal agreement. Specifically, we had a concern with a individual who had a dog that was not licensed and was moving. This is a real short version. The individual was basically ordered to license the dog, and then moved, and then was told the new municipality they had to pay all the fees all over again, and moved within 2 or 3 days or something. And it just seemed absolutely ridiculous in a small community. You know, you're making someone spend that, what is it, $40 twice. And it was just a matter, well, you're my town now, so you're gonna buy my license. We would like to lead the way on that and set up some language that we would reciprocate between municipalities.
But how far away are we willing to go to reciprocate?
Well, it's certainly not outside of Clinton County.
No, this was in Peru. I called Cassie and talked to Cassie.
I was trying to protect the names of the innocent.
Okay, I called the other town clerk, and spoke with the town clerk, and she was aware of the situation, but the lady that's running, or manager of the dog shelter was very adamant that this girl had to register them here because the dogs came from this area. So I said, I called her back and I said, geez, the lady is moving, I've got a copy of her rental agreement where she's going to move into Peru onto it. I've already talked to the lady there, and as long as she goes to Peru and registers them, I'll be happy. She's leaving our thing by this Friday, she won't be in our village or anything, she'll be in Peru. So why not just let her register them there?
Yeah,
So,
but the only thing, how many times has this happened in the last 8 years?
it's happened twice
Twice.
recently.
Recently?
One, the other lady moved to Morris.
It's kind of small potatoes unless you're the person, and, you know, not everybody can afford to
Well, that's
re-register
where
their
her
dog
situation,
in
she was
2 weeks.
on public assistance.
Well, what
She's got
what
two
happens
children.
what happens if Ellenberg doesn't want to reciprocate, doesn't want to do that?
Well, then the situation is gonna be unfortunate for the person that's there, but we're not causing it in the sense that we can say to them, hey, we understand that we asked you to license your dogs in our
Right.
town, and you're moving from our town,
Right,
and you're going to a new town, and you're gonna have to abide by whatever they say.
Right.
We have towns that have reciprocal agreements with us, and they would recognize that within the last year, you got a dog licensed in our town. But Ellenberg doesn't wanna do that. You know, what can I tell you?
It really is a bit of a shared services, you know, working together,
mm-hmm,
just trying to help people out.
One of the things I heard recently, it's a little bit on the border of the scope of this conversation, but I think just as we're talking about dogs, a couple of folks have mentioned that there would be an interest to see the rabies vaccination, which is, I forget exactly how long it is, associated with the dog licensing time period.
Rabies is 3.
Right,
That's right.
so if you could do that, you might actually get more people to, you know, meet the mandate of getting the dog license and so on and so forth. It might be just one other additional thing to be helpful. So if Dave's gonna rework some of this stuff, you know, through a formal recommendation, I think he should look at a bunch of different things.
That was the other thing he did want us to talk about, was having a multi-year. If it's $20 a year, you could get 3 years for $50, which might be a nice way to coincide with the rabies vaccinations.
But when you have a puppy gets a rabies shot and then has to have another rabies shot in 1 year,
Right.
and then it's 3 years, but if you're going to Europe, you have to have it every year, so.
There's not a one-size-fits-all.
No, it's not,
And
exactly.
the health department got involved with that other dog too, because the health department at the clinics, if you don't provide them a previous rabies certificate from a veterinarian, they will not give you a certificate for 3 years, they'll only give you 1 year. And,
Right. If you don't have a proof showing that you got the booster for 3 years,
right,
you have to get, they'll only give you a 1-year certificate.
Right,
So you have to
from
go
the
back
health
the
department.
next year and
the
get-
next
get
year,
a 3-year
you come
shot.
back next year and have the health department do it, you're already in their computer, so they know that you've already got the rabies, and then they'll give you a 3-year one. But they won't go beyond 1 year if you don't provide the information to them. And a lot of the people now are going to the rabies clinic because of the cost. It's $50 a shot at any one of the veterinarians. And they give you, you gotta pay for an office visit to get the shots.
Does the clinic charge at all, or
You make a
nominal
donation.
donation?
They ask you for a minimum of $5 donation, because the state funds the vaccine for the rabies.
So if we do go to multiple years, then
Right, you can get a
when we,
3-year
when we
shot.
go into a simple agreement, we're gonna have to say, you know, this is good for 3 years, you know, so the next town shouldn't be charging for until the 3 years is up. And vice versa for us.
And you may not want to reciprocate the entire length of the license period. The insult is, when I buy one here, and 2 days later, I gotta go do it again, you know, down the road a couple miles.
Well, I'll be insulted if I have to buy it.
Well, even if you give them,
I paid for 3
you
years.
know, a maximum of 6 months, but they paid it here, and you got a year out of it, and they moved to another area, we could be reciprocal on a 6-month basis, you know?
Again, it's just trying to provide a better service for the members of the community in the region.
Well, we've worked with Beekmantown, we've worked with Saranac, we've worked with Peru, we've even worked with Keysville, with the town of Los Angeles. If somebody comes, you know, the dog's been picked up here, got out of the thing and goes to the pound, as long as they can provide the paperwork that it's been done, you know, we let it go.
Yeah.
Not
It's
to
done, it's
really,
done.
you know, well, just, you gotta, there's a gray area and you try to help everybody, you know? I mean, this one poor unfortunate lady, I felt sorry for her, you know?
That wasn't government with its best image out. So again, we can discuss it forever, but it's a lengthy agenda. What
No?
I think I'm hearing is work on a draft agreement to reciprocate and make a recommendation for a multi-year. I'll get after Dave and we'll work forward with that. With that said, we need a resolution for Elmore's. The amount will be the $6,500 again, we just don't have a final document yet. Next, number 4 is board appointments. Deborah made copies for you last session of where some of the polls were. We have our formal committees, but in the directory of board members, we have slots noted there as well. One being the Board of Ethics. We're going to want to address that pretty soon also. Maybe now's soon enough, Gerard, as long as I've opened that door.
We had at our last meeting, as far as the appointment, you want to touch on that first?
The Board of Ethics, I think, as long as that's out there, let's...
All right. At our last meeting, there was discussion that was held. I didn't make copies for everybody of the tentative minutes, but there was discussion that was held with a recent Press Republican article about Franklin County's Board of Ethics and the creation and formation of that Board of Ethics. Of particular interest was the stipulation that none of those appointed to the ethics panel can hold office in a political party or work for or be a government employee and cannot make campaign contributions to or work on an election campaign for any of the elected county positions. Our discussions were concerning what our board makeup should be moving forward and what degree we wanted to copy the above resolution or regulations. By our local law, the Board of Ethics can make recommendations to the town board. Town board can adopt those resolutions or can just stay with what it's got. There was a resolution that was put forth. It was motioned and it was seconded, and basically asking that the town board consider changing the language to remove its elected official appointee, and that we would also add at the end of it that the members of the Board of Ethics cannot work on an elected campaign for any elected county position or local positions. We don't want our members to be actively working on campaigns. Question came up by one of the members, well, what if I want to put a sign out in my yard for a certain candidate? That's not actively campaigning. Again, that was just my opinion back. I don't know, you know, that the full board, I guess, would have to discuss whether they thought that. That was my opinion, was you're not actively working on a campaign if you put a certain candidate's sign in your yard. So that's what we would like the board to consider, the town board to consider, is changing the language that would take away the appointed elected official and just make it another member of the public. What that also would do is now take the 5 members of the board who are full-term members and stagger them by 5 years instead of one person being appointed every year. The town board's appointee is appointed every year. The other 4 are appointed for a 4-year staggered term. It would now make all those positions staggered for 5 years. And the 2 alternates would still carry a 2-year appointment. So that was the thing of major concern that we would make a recommendation. I can give you a formal resolution from us if you want, but that's in a nutshell.
And that, the state recommends that you have I mean, when we set it up.
Yes.
They recommended you have
Thank
a
you
board
for-
member on it.
Thank you for reminding me, Tom. I did find an article, and I'll be glad to find it again for you and present it to the board, that any town board, by home rule, can make something more strict than what the state provides. So the town board, again, by adopting the resolution or the changes to that local law, would be using its home rule authority to make the appointment more strict than what the state had allowed.
I don't have an objection to that, if they're not, if the town board member's not on, but to eliminate anybody who's campaigning or ever campaigned for anybody or contribute to anybody, I think that's a little bit going too far.
Again, what we're-
You've got people on the Board of Ethics now. I don't know if any of them campaign for anybody, but when we looked at the list of people, we looked at the people individually, we thought these are people that really have high ethical value and that they would be good at serving on that.
Tom, I go to this general statement, perception is a reality when it comes to ethics, you know, and for me, I shared this early on, I was never comfortable with a member of this board being on the ethics panel. I just think that you don't want that cross-pollination of perception and the reality of the situation. In addition to that, you know, I don't see five members? 5 members are gonna make that much of a political swing to anyone's campaign. So I think that, you know, we can find members of our community for, you know, these terms that don't necessarily need to, you know, they can refuse, they can say, you know, my ability to politic supersedes my interest to serve on this board. It goes back to my conversation with Steve when he was talking about the zoning board of appeals and wanting to provide a stipend for them. You know, people know what they're getting into when they're stepping up for public service, be it a committee appointment, etc. So I'm for both.
That'd be similar to our judges who are not able to be
Yeah.
politically active if they go in that role.
I'll give a case in point, because I did hear Deborah's comment. I wrote a letter supporting Meg LaFave. Okay, now if question were to come before the Board of Ethics regarding Meg LaFave, am I going to be perceived as being impartial?
Well, but.
And it's all about public perception, Tom. It's all about public perception. It's nothing about whether or not I am going to be impartial, it's about the public's perception. And that's where ethics has its strongest roots, it's what the public perceives. So again, if
The
we
people that are
make
active in the public are active in a lot of areas, and I think you're ruling out a lot of people. You say you can't ever have campaign for anybody, or campaigning for everybody.
it said actively
Well, I don't
can.
know what, I haven't seen, I gotta have it right in front of me what the exact wording is, but, you know, so I might
What
go
is
on
the
Board of
exact
Ethics and
wording?
then later on I decide to campaign for somebody.
The
read the wording.
the actual wording, and I took this from Franklin counties, is that you cannot make campaign contributions to or work on an election campaign.
During your term of
During your term
service,
as-
so
Yeah.
it's not saying that an individual who has previously made, you know, a contribution in years past, I think, you know, it's like an Etch-a-Sketch. We're shaking it, we're starting fresh, you know, and we're gonna see where we go from there. I mean,
But Jerry said, when he started out here with this Board of Ethics, that, you know, you bring that before the Board of Ethics. I mean, if there's one person that ended up making a campaign contribution this year, and if they don't usually, they're on there for a 5-year term, are they supposed to resign?
So who polices the Board of Ethics members? If the Board of Ethics members
We've
are
got-
in effect policing the...
We didn't have any Board of Ethics to begin with. I mean, I think we're doing pretty well for,
This is just, Tom, this is a recommendation from
Public
the
knowledge,
Board of
if
Ethics.
somebody makes a contribution to a political campaign.
Pardon me?
If they make a contribution above a certain amount, it's public knowledge.
Was that a resolution unanimously supported by all Board of Ethics members?
It was supported by the members who were in attendance, which was a quorum.
So they don't see a problem with it.
They don't see a
They're
problem.
willing to do that.
I basically brought the article forward. The motion was made by somebody other than myself, seconded by somebody other than myself, and it was passed unanimously by the members that were there.
I know you sent that to me, I don't know why it didn't find its way into this agenda. If I can get a copy of that, I mean, that is their resolution.
This is the tentative minutes.
It is
Okay,
there.
it's because it's tentative, there's nothing that's concrete in there. You know, I mean, it's gotta be adopted by the full membership, we only meet twice a year. So tentative minutes are tentative until we have a membership meeting, or
But a quorum passed a resolution.
quorum passed the resolution. So if you want, I can put the resolution in writing and present it to the board.
Your minutes indicate the resolution that was passed. Okay.
We just don't number our
That's not bad.
resolutions, I mean, we pass,
Yeah, that's fine.
we do one every 5 years
That's fine.
maybe.
If it's in there, I don't think you have to write it again. I mean,
No.
it's a matter of us discussing it and voting on it, basically.
I think that's sufficient that we take a look at our law. I guess I would turn to council to incorporate that, give us a draft, and we'll act on it in the near future. I mean, it's nothing we have to do this week, obviously. But it does make a lot of sense, and I think you and I went to those meetings in Potsdam that year, and there was some strong encouragement to have a board member as a.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost more of a liaison than anything.
The state of New York, I believe the local law that they give you for an example specifically says in there, I think if you went to town law, or if you research it, it states in there that it must be an elected member or an employee of the town. One member must be. But again, I apologize for not having it ready tonight. I can find you the article written by a lawyer, basically saying that, you know, and I believe he's right. I think you agree with me, Jim. Home rule law can supersede
Yes, can.
state law, as long as it's more strict, not less.
I was here when we put our first ethics law into effect, and I spoke against that stipulation in the law. And the person who was gonna be appointed was the town attorney, and I thought it was an unbelievable conflict of interest, because I thought if somebody would be bringing an issue about an action, you know, it could be a great likelihood that the town attorney would have been one of the people who would have been involved in the action. And I felt very strongly that, you know, that there shouldn't have been a person from the town board.
Well, this is an advisory group. We've been fortunate to have I think an extremely well-qualified membership in our Board of Ethics, and I think it would behoove us to give very serious attention to their recommendation. I just can't see a reason not to. So we will draft that as soon as we get that
So that would
forward.
prohibit us then from appointing Jerry,
No.
if he's not on the board. It would prohibit us
Unless-
from appointing him to.
Unless during his period that he would be a Board of Ethics member, he would not engage in the collective.
Because you're really restricting it, because Jerry led this whole thing and got this thing going and set up this very, I think, excellent, the codes and everything for our Board of Ethics. And you're prohibiting somebody like that from serving. That's why I don't, that's why I don't.
You won't be prohibited at all.
I guarantee you, Tom, that the other members of that board are more than capable of taking over should something happen to me.
It's not prohibiting him from serving, but it's.
Yes, it is.
It's not
No.
prohibiting
He's
him
serving
from
next year.
supporting someone's campaign in a future election.
During his appointment, he can't be active. That he was before, that he would be after, is no problem. And if in a 5-year appointment, he decided, I want to get actively involved in politics to support a campaign, to run
Well, if
myself,
he
then
supported
he'd
one
have to
candidate
resign.
during that 5 years, with either money or a
He can't.
letter or something,
He can't.
Yeah.
he's off the Board of Ethics then.
Yeah.
Is that?
He'd have to
what
He
resign.
knows that going in, sure.
Now, does the Board of Ethics decide if he should be off the Board of Ethics?
There'd be no option if it's part of our local law.
And I
You
disagree
can't
with
do
that.
it. So,
Would
we're
he
gonna
be able
change
to
that.
have a leave of absence?
I
during
don't
the
think I
campaign?
would be
I don't
in
think
favor of that. We need
I mean,
to
I don't know,
step
just-
down, be replaced, and if an
Yeah.
opening
Because you
comes
have
up in the
alternate,
future.
alternates.
Sure.
Case in point, we had, I think you'll see it in the minutes, Herb Carpenter's term is up the end of this year. we had a motion that was made, and it was seconded to reappoint Herb. Herb was not at the meeting. I didn't feel comfortable appointing somebody who wasn't there to say, yes, I want to take reappointment. I hadn't heard anything, email, phone call, anything saying he was willing to take it. So that motion was tabled. Herb since called me up and said, yeah, I'll take the appointment, but the motion was tabled. We have a very active group. We won't be meeting again until April of 2015, but if we were called, we could field a quorum without Herb Carpenter.
Yeah.
So rather than call a special meeting to reappoint her, we're going to wait until our April meeting and we'll do the appointment or not for
You
at
can
that
do
point.
first order of business and you
Exactly.
close the table.
Exactly.
Well, let's get something drafted. Once we see the proposed language, then we can make some decisions. The rest of that number 4 really is the planning and zoning. We still, and that's nothing we're going to really discuss at length to resolve today. We want to make sure we have all of our various town boards with full appointments and alternates, but it's also the town board committees, which really goes into number 5. I think I don't remember what Debbie gave you. I think she maybe gave you a blank one. So we start with a blank slate. I've got the current in case there's any question, but this is one, and some of these you can see the draft says January 5 on it. We can't wait much longer to make a decision on these things. This is our last work session before the new year. Meg, these are items, and I know on my computer I had some notes from individual conversations. I don't have those with me. Meg, these are some where we also need to get you involved. And I had a conversation with Tom earlier. I think we all know the positive argument about keeping the committee intact, that really has worked well with the department and the department head and knows the needs and wants of that department. But we all vote on all issues for all departments, and it may be wise sometimes to stir it up and get that same kind of knowledge and information from another department. And I'll admit it, probably one of the more demanding ones as far as actual concrete, you're going to do it every 2 weeks, is the auditing committee. You certainly get some fingerprints on every voucher that goes through, but you also have weekend homework, and it's not quite as flexible. And certainly is a very important committee. We get a lot of checks and balances there. So I'm going to assume you've given some great thought to it. And understanding the reason to keep consistent as well as the reasons to mix it up a little bit, we need to go through. And unless someone has a better plan, I'm going to start with assessing, planning, and zoning and just go down the list because I need names to create resolutions.
Bernie, I'd like to make a recommendation to add one as it relates to the auditing committee, and that's the finance committee. We need our liaison, and it should be one of the members from the auditing committee.
Well, that was to add?
Yeah, because we have the finance committee, we need a council member to serve as the liaison. So I think we should acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I agree, it should be one of the auditing people.
Well, as per what we passed for that
Seems to be
structure, I think it comes out of that
Yeah.
too.
Oh, yes, yeah, I think you're right there. Debbie gave me a list and it's all blanks. Here we go. Okay, assessing, planning, and zoning this year are Cashman and Wood. Thoughts, interest?
Assessing, planning, and zoning. Okay.
That's what I've got on my list.
That was what that last year,
2014.
Cashman.
when we changed in February, that's when you were on it, then we changed to Michael being on
Tom's
it.
got the different one, the one that instead of January to February.
So for this year, Michael and I served on that.
Where are are you on that?
I'm okay, I would prefer to give up the safety committee, which I don't feel is as robust as something I'd be interested in, possibly highway, whoever's on that.
Mike, you would be interested in staying with assessing, planning, and zoning?
I'm open to,
If no one else wants to fight him for that, I'm gonna put his name down, at least for now.
no arm wrestling.
After that one.
Tom?
I've been on it, you said we wanted to switch some, but, you know, it's up.
It's wide open this year.
Somebody else.
Just like zero budgeting, we're starting with a zero
Well,
slate.
the committee that I was just on for this last year, the highway committee, I'd like to stay on. But I'll be open and say I'll switch to other committees if somebody else wants.
Anyone else interested in assessing, planning, and zoning? If there's not a fight over that, Tom, I'm gonna put your name back there.
Yeah, I'm happy
So
with
we've
it, I'm
got
just
you
saying,
on there and
in
highway.
the interest of people moving around, if you.
Okay, the next one, I'm working off a list that may be different than yours. I know it's different than the other 14 we had. The next one on my list, I think it's your blank list, is auditing. And from that one, we'll also do a finance committee appointment, or these two individuals could rotate that, I suppose, too. Currently, it's Cashman and Renadette. Mr. Renadette, I heard, won't be with us, so we have no option there. Mike, is that something you want to stay with? Because I know you were finance committee big driver.
Well, I think the other part too is it takes a period of time to get your hands wrapped around
Yes.
that, and so.
Someone like to join Mike on auditing? I'm sure he will do the,
I'm starting to take this as a personal
Introductions.
offense that no one's stepping right up with whatever committee I'm aligned to.
I will enthusiastically.
enthusiastically.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay.
And, you know, that's a good one, and you truly do get to see where it goes and who asks for what.
Will you remain with the finance committee though? or-
If,
So
no
just-
objection.
No, no.
And maybe in Mike's absence, you could fill in for him, because you'll be birds of a feather for a while. Building and grounds, we have Mannix and Renadette currently.
Mannix should stay on that. That's
Okay,
agreeable.
and we need a partner for Mannix.
I haven't been on that committee before, so.
You currently have two, you can do that, I guess, we'll put you on there for now. I'm gonna try to keep score here too, I wasn't doing that, make sure no one gets left out. Community services next, which includes we have included the ambulance committee with that. It doesn't have to be, but I'll leave it that way for now, community service and ambulance.
I've been on that, and I'll continue to be on that.
Good.
I would like to.
Okay, Meg? That's a good one. Highways next, I've got Tom down there. We've had Wood and Mannix currently.
I'd like to stay on it.
Okay, Tom, anyone desirous of highway?
I'm open to serving on highway.
Well,
Okay, I'm gonna put Cashman down for now.
Cashman and,
Cashman and Wood. Justice,
if we get to the point where Tom's got
too many?
too many, I wouldn't mind staying on the highway committee.
Okay, I'm gonna just put your name in parentheses.
Well, now, I'm suggesting these things to incorporate change here. You know.
Yep, change is
I'm switching some of the committees I'm on.
Change is good. Justice Committee, we currently have Renadette and Wood. Is there someone who would like to work with the judges and our courts?
Why don't you just read down the rest of them and find out who's left?
You've got
A lot
those.
of them.
Because personnel is big, and
Mhm.
I think the water and wastewater and youth services are big.
Well, I will jump over Justice and continue down to personnel. We've currently had Cashman and Mannix.
I continue to serve on that.
I'm open, the only other committee that I really have a high interest in retaining, and otherwise I'm open to anything really, is Parks and Rec, or Youth Services and Recreation.
Well, you've started some things in there that I think is important. The only other issue with personnel, you've got a counseling background that I think is a good asset to have on that committee. And if there's no complaint, I'd like to leave Cashman there. And for the obvious reason, youth service and recreation, I'm gonna pull you down there right now. That takes us to safety committee. We currently have Cashman and Renadette,
I'll work on that.
Mannix. And
You must be holding out for some.
Well, I'm not doing this on purpose, but I have similar interests to Cashman. So I would like to be on the youth services and recreation.
I'm gonna put LaFave down on youth service and recreation. I'm still waiting for another volunteer on safety. And while I'm doing that, I will jump down to water wastewater. We currently have Mannix Wood.
Listen, you've got 2 so far, you gotta get 3 more.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one for you.
Water, wastewater?
Water wastewater, LaFave, and we need another body there.
I've been on it, but somebody else.
You have been there a long time, and I know you have a good deep passion for their needs.
Which
I don't think
I
that'll
do.
go away. So if someone else got there, that might be good to build that same base. I would encourage someone else going to water wastewater with Meg. That would be good to have 2
I'll
more
go,
people there.
I'll stay on water, wastewater.
Good.
Work with me.
I think that's a good mix. I'll go back up to the courts. You know your own score. If you only have 1 or 2, we need somebody on Justice Committee
Then we need somebody on safety.
and 1 more on safety.
I'll be on the
1,
justice.
2,
Okay,
3,
Wood
4.
Justice,
Justice is Wood.
You've got 5 already, you can't be on anymore.
Personnel, we have Mannix Cashman.
How many do you want, Tom?
4.
That one's,
So you gotta get on 5, Tom.
Well, if I go on justice, that's 5.
Well,
1,
How many are we supposed to be
2,
on?
No, wait, is it 5?
3,
No, I dropped it out.
I only got you on 4, including Justice.
That's right, I'm getting all the easy ones now.
I've got you 4 with Justice also.
You got all the hard ones.
Yeah,
You
you're
know
really,
that, Tom.
you know? You can tell you're retired.
I've got LaFave with 4.
Lost youth and services.
And how many are we supposed to have?
There's no magic number.
4 to 5.
There's 10
And
committees.
there's 10 spots, and we each took 2.
Tom should be on 5 because he's got 4 real easy ones. He took 4 easiest ones.
I did not, I allowed other people, Bernie kept saying, well, you should have that one on personal, and, you know, I gave up to
He's in
somebody else.
4. Wood has
Like
4.
youth services, I was on that,
What's the other one?
Meg wants that, so we'll give that.
I don't know who,
Water wastewater, youth services,
Mannix has-
Put you on the safety committee.
auditing.
Yep.
You're on building and grounds, and you're on safety. It's the same committee.
There's relevancy there.
Yeah,
Who's
why
on
you said
safety?
2, that's what I wanna know.
right now Marty so far.
Who's on first?
So we put Tom down on the safety committee. We got safety committee, Mannix and Wood, and we got
And Wood?
building and grounds, Mannix and Wood. I told him, I said, it's the same committee.
So I've lost.
So I
lost,
need
a
1
couple
more
figures
justice person.
Justice
Who's
person.
shy here?
That'd be
then. That
Meg.
would be
I think we should put Jimmy in
Meg.
there.
Cashman, 1, 2,
Cashman has 5.
3, 4, 5.
Finance is kind of a
you
weird.
got 4. You're stuck with it.
Okay, Meg,
Meg's gotta be on
you're on the
justice.
justice committee.
Yep,
Okay, let me go through the list that I've got. Ricky, you can keep track also.
yep.
Assessing, planning, and zoning, I've got Cashman Wood. Auditing, Cashman and
You think about
LaFave.
it, there's 4
Finance
counselors.
Committee, LaFave.
1, 2,
Building and Grounds, Mannix Wood. Community Service and Ambulance, Mannix LaFave. Highway Committee, Wood Cashman. Justice, Wood LaFave. Personnel, Mannix Cashman. Safety, Mannix Wood. Water wastewater, LaFave Mannix. Youth Services and Recreation, Cashman LaFave.
Yep, and then Cashman on the finance committee.
Cashman on finance. Okay,
So that's, makes it, I have a pretty easy year this next year.
well, it,
We're gonna come up with a couple ad hoc committees, Tom.
Oh, no, that's okay, I'm fine.
every
You're
year.
Chairing the committee on the committees.
Yeah, and they add to your hospital.
They do, they have to their house.
Oh, no.
No, I'll just cause more problems in the other committees.
Next item on the list is the fire district liaisons.
Right.
Okay, now, I can switch to anyone that you want.
No, Jerry was in charge of what? Cumberland Head?
Well,
No, I have Cumberland.
No, you had Cumberland Head.
let me roll right down
You
again.
had Cliff Haven?
First resolve,
Oh, yeah, let's say Cliff Haven, South Plattsburgh.
District 3, we
What,
currently
Morrisonville?
have Wood.
Why don't you give Meg Morrisonville, which I currently
That
have,
would be a good
and
one.
give me Cliff Haven. And then Tom stays with Route District 3,
3
and you
Wood.
stay with Katyville.
You don't want to change
You
for
say
change.
someone-
Say- No, wait a minute, that's what we've been saying before, we got to change for,
Well, this is different, very much so different.
okay.
Who has Katie
Bernie.
Okay.
Although you can negotiate
Just-
with him. Tell him
Yeah, tell him he should
tell him
take a
he's got
different one.
Morrisonville.
Yeah, he wants change, tell him he should take a different one, yeah, sure.
He's done Morrisonville before.
So you're gonna take.
Michael's
South
still
Plattsburgh,
Cumberland Head?
Morrisonville,
You're taking
LaFave.
South Plattsburgh?
No, I'm gonna take Cliff Haven.
Who's District
I
3?
guess that's South Plattsburgh.
South Plattsburgh,
Okay,
Mannix,
yeah.
District 3.
Cumberland Head is
Michael.
Cashman. And that doesn't seem right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess it is, right?
Katyville is Bernie.
I do.
How many districts are there?
Morrisonville is
5
Meg.
or 6?
Morrison would be Meg.
Yeah.
South Plattsburgh, Mannix, Cumberland Head, Cashman.
And your District 3?
Wood does 3. All right,
Oh,
Mine. He has 2.
yeah, their meeting times don't
Tom, you
work well.
took District 3?
I didn't take it, you signed it for me.
Oh, I thought
Oh,
Marty was
Tom
gonna
Wood
go.
has District 3?
Yeah, I thought Marty
Okay.
was gonna
Yeah,
go.
I'll go to a meeting there.
Yeah, I was gonna call him, maybe it's just
Most of them meet on Mondays.
Number 6, SUNY MOU, Mr. Cashman. We had a revised of that. If you've got the right one on the date, it says December 2, 2014. The first one we had, I think, just said 14, so the Q is 2014.
Really, the only change to this is, there was an added section for intellectual property. This section really
Where's
talks,
that?
it should be on the 3rd page, on the very bottom. Faculty and students who conduct sanctioned research at the Katyville Park will own the intellectual property. Per this MOU, it is understood that any research, posters, publications, etc. should cite the town of Plattsburgh, New York. That was a condition that we want them to better understand the regional nature of, there's a difference between the town of Plattsburgh and the city of Plattsburgh, so rather than just being Plattsburgh to New York, that it's the town of Plattsburgh. Equally, the town of Plattsburgh also note or cite faculty, students for their work in publication, brochures, websites, etc. So if they do a brochure, or we do some type of signage or something like that, that we find a means to acknowledge their work for whatever they've done for the town, considering that they're doing it.
That whole part was added, that whole section?
Yeah, it's basically the last paragraph.
The intellectual property wasn't in the other one?
It was not. I talked with Kurt Jervik, who is a faculty member at the CES today. He's been one of the primary players there that helped to work out some of the relationship stuff. And then he also helped to develop this with his students. I apologize, there's one last other thing is, in the organizational structure, we also talked about having a student member as part of this committee that would meet at least twice a year, just to try to, again, have a student perspective.
And according to this, you want 2 town board members, so you'd be 1.
It would be the other recreation member, probably.
Oh, the other recreation member?
Leaving it open, but that to me would make the most sense,
So it's
considering to
actually-
be working with the recreation person.
I don't want to open Pandora's box
Sure.
on this, but if the intellectual property were to be commercialized, shouldn't any revenue be split between, say, the recreation department of the town of Plattsburgh and
I think that we can go back to as things develop over on. MOUs can be, go back, you can go back to an MOU and edit it and change it and stuff like that. But really the type of things that are being done is these college students are writing research papers and doing posters that they want to be able to say that they were published. They're not really producing a saleable product. So to me, I think
This is designed for the semester or the year,
it's for a year.
so we would revisit it at the end of the,
Are we considering it the year from the summer to the summer, or we consider the school year, or are we considering it?
It would be from when we adopt it to the following year, so this would carry us through this year. Carry us through 2015, if you think about it.
Well, what, I guess what I'm saying is, doesn't it change in September? Wouldn't it be better on a school year, or is this just, wouldn't make any difference?
I don't think it matters per se. I think this still gives us some optimal flexibility to go back and make changes if we need something. More than anything, it identifies the relationship, and this sense of the joint advisory board will oversee some of the park partnerships to make some of the recommendations. Ultimately, it's gonna come before the board. It's also gonna ultimately come before Mel to make programmatic decisions for the park. So it's very similar to the, Safe Streets Committee type of thing. You know, it's a group of people coming together, making some recommendations to manage some of these things.
I'd like to expound a little bit more on the intellectual property.
Sure.
And that is that if we don't own the intellectual property, can the students or faculty stop us from utilizing what was presented? If a plan gets presented for how to market the recreational program, or a new recreational program comes about as a result, can the owners of the intellectual property stop us from using that information?
If you want, we could put in parentheses, and talking with a couple people, you could say shared intellectual property.
I'd feel better with shared rather than us not having any use of it at all. I mean, not that I'm saying it would ever happen, but it's possible that somebody comes up with a new game similar to pickleball and says, we can't use it.
Sure.
So that, the last paragraph, only thing you'd add then is shared in there?
I think the faculties and students and the town of Plattsburgh will share the intellectual property. I would, counsel, what do you?
Well, I would say this, it will never be a financial issue.
I don't believe it
For
will,
sure.
but I don't believe it will, but
There might be a
can we
Forrest Gump out there that we haven't seen.
I'm just curious
I know.
as to
I
whether or
think-
not we can be kept from ever using it. I mean,
I think for in the conversations that we've had.
I don't see us selling it.
Right, but I think for me, the important part of it was, in speaking with a couple students, that if you work on something for an extensive period of time, an independent study, and you come up with a publication, you don't want the town just slapping a town logo on it and saying, look what we did. Because the town, and maybe, something that the town is utilizing, but give credit where credit is due. So it's a citing,
I think we're all in
And vice
favor of
versa.
that.
and
vice
exactly,
versa.
and that's why we said it should cite the town of Plattsburgh.
Yeah.
So that people understand that it's being done, in our park system. And decided not to say, the Katie'ville Park, it's the town, it's a part of the municipality as a whole.
Well, usually if you write anything, it's your property, period. If you write anything, that's yours.
Well, MOUs are non-binding anyways.
Not necessarily, once the paper gets stolen, somebody else publishes it.
So,
any change on intellectual property
Pages.
at this point? Do we need to?
I don't think it's a great threat.
All right.
One item, Mike, in it was just the way that it was written for a document like an MOU.
Sure.
The MOU is supposed to be a memorandum of understanding. The item under liabilities talks about a vagueness that we don't know what it is. And I guess what I would recommend under liabilities is changing need to determine, and I just take that out and put in, the advisory board will address and present to the town board their response to the following.
Yeah.
sure.
And that just tells me the advisory board's now gonna look at this, and they'll give us feedback, what are the issues concerning student injury, behavior, and da, da, da.
No objection to
Is
that.
that okay? That way, again, the MOU seems to have formed.
And please understand that this document was written in a fashion where students actually were part of this process.
They did a
Which
good
I think
job.
was pretty cool, you know, that students had the ability to kind of see how government was functioning and to build the relationship between our two entities, so.
And that's really some of my thought with this one, that it gives them an initial task also.
Yeah.
That these are some loose ends we just wanna get cleaned up.
Sure.
Okay?
So that would be, take out the word liabilities, and,
No, I'd leave the word liabilities, I think that's a good
but then under that,
point.
you'd put the,
I take out the need to determine liabilities and risk management strategy, in its place put, the advisory board will address and present to the town board their response to the following. So they've addressed that, that's all we need. And again, these makes students some ownership of that. Anyone have anything else with the MOU? And if not, there will be a resolution for its adoption. All right, the next item, we had set aside we had set aside addressing the change in title from Mr. Bro to Superintendent of Building and Grounds. I won't go back over all the what and the why and so on and so forth. It wasn't a requirement of his duties and current position for the balance of this year, so we tabled it, and we didn't table it, we put it aside to be readdressed at this time. And if we're going to change that title, then we would begin the process, and it has to start all over again with civil service, which isn't huge. And you had a draft resolution, did she give you that again? Okay, so that, I think, would basically come back. I honestly didn't review it, it may need some updates, but. I indicated to Art I would have that on the agenda, the department heads get a copy of our agenda, and we will know what to do next.
There's only one change in there, I'm sure you've already seen it.
I didn't revisit
It's
this.
in the second resolve, which addresses the remainder of 2014, because this will not be taking effect until January 2015, correct?
Correct.
So there's no need to mention annual prorated, et cetera, et cetera.
We are prorated for the remainder of 2014.
So this would just be effective the first full pay period following final service approval. Now, that number is the one that would have been recommended and appropriate for the balance of the year based on where he started.
So you gotta come up with
There is a
a new
different
number.
number for the full year for the title Superintendent of Building and Grounds. His 2014 was the same as his 2013 salary, was $60,745. $67.45. The proposal was to move him to 65, and that's commensurate with other department heads, et cetera. You recall Mr. Bro, his responsibilities and his staff numbers changed rather dramatically over the years to where he runs it all now.
so then that resolved, that paragraph would be changed
To
represent this?
65,000 effective first full pay period, which would be in 2015.
To a pay rate of 65,000?
Per year, correct,
Okay.
for 2015.
Effective the first full pay period.
My assumption is if we start this immediately after it would be passed, we would be able to pull that off in time for the first payroll in 2015.
Now, does that gets delayed until civil service?
Final approval.
Approval.
Yeah, and he would, I believe this one he also has to take an exam, which if he doesn't pass it, he doesn't get it.
Now, would there be other people taking that exam? as well?
This being a promotion, no, it'd be similar to what was done with the planner and senior planner. They were the only two that took the exam, I believe, this past weekend. I spoke with both. Trevor especially indicated it was an extensive exam.
What's the turnaround time typically for results?
Results, the test may not take place for months.
No, I know
Once the
that.
test takes place, it's a matter of 2-3 weeks or so, you'll get it back. That flip around's pretty good.
Okay, so this one's gonna be reworked before we,
I didn't read it again prior to tonight's meeting. As indicated, we would change the second resolved. Anything else that isn't appropriate for the current time frame. All the other background stuff, I think, is completely accurate. It's just we delayed the process. Number 8, I've often called an infomercial. You know, there are times we throw things in your mailboxes.
can you send here?
That's the one. You already got it. There's some. There's one for Meg.
Meg, you got one?
There are a couple of articles in here. I just wanted to, it's like I tell department heads a lot of times, I'll put something on an agenda just because I can document it, right? Firearms in the municipal workplace, an article certainly worthy of some attention, not that all of them aren't. NYMER does a nice job with training and providing information. It's in their best interests that we're well informed and we don't make mistakes, of course. And the other article on page,
Which article are you talking about?
one on firearms, cover article,
Cover it.
and
You
the
get
other
the
one,
wrong, you get the wrong thing, Tom.
Oh, I get the wrong one.
the other one is on page
I had the same colors. so
4,
That's what I thought.
intermunicipal cooperation
Firearms,
agreements.
municipal work.
Okay.
I would also
got that?
encourage you to
Bertie, you got another
give
one of
attention
those?
to. I'll
Firearms.
give them my personal one. So the intermunicipal shared service is important as well. Guy. Gonna go down, be a hero. Just
In my own mind.
Just suck it up. Okay, the next one you don't have, I don't believe that was highlighted. Why don't I have the copies? Maybe they're in here. Do you have a number 9 awarding uniform service agreement? I was afraid of that. Let me see if she has a resolution. Our agenda went through some pretty measurable changes in the 11th hour today. You did receive some information on uniforms. We did an RFP in September, and I'm gonna honestly say,
Okay.
it got buried. You have nothing in your packet about uniforms.
Nope. Well, I remember getting something back then.
Yeah,
I didn't bring it today.
well, vaguely remember, but I should have a copy for you because that was September.
Wasn't anything on the agenda.
Let me just see if I can tag this place here.
You need green and white copies of
Yeah, I know.
Here's the resolution draft. I've got that, but I don't have the nuts and bolts. Ricky, if you could get copies of this, then I'll pull that draft resolution. That's really the nuts and bolts of it. That's the summary sheet.
That's all you want?
Yeah, just that. That would be good.
Oh, that must have been the table.
Pat came in asking about it. As you know, we had a few RFPs in the last couple of months, and for some reason, the board passed in September.
014
You need another one here.
312.
We have 4 people on this side now.
Yeah. Dash
You
312.
gotta,
A
Meg, you
resolution.
gotta really pay attention to him. He's like a Hoover vacuum cleaner. Anything gets near him, he
To Solicit bids, which we did. We reviewed them. I spent some time with Pat. And we have a recommendation, which is both price and value. And that is to continue with UniFirst. You see the draft resolution. This, I do need to do a reread. It may be perfect the way it is, but I'm just tired right now. This was one of the ones we did in the last 20 minutes of the day.
Was it?
Were they bids, though?
Proposals, RFPs.
They say bids in the resolution.
But there's no definite price on this, right?
Well, that's coming. Ricky has it. Boy, I thought that was an RFP.
It was.
You recall that? You have it? Yeah, okay. So we have to watch the word bid.
At least from the draft,
Yeah, it probably was one the same.
You got bids in there about 4 times.
Yep. Copy and paste. These are not-
Don't worry, we'll come back.
You had modified the 312 at that time to run for 3 1/3 years so that it would run out December
He's
of
bringing that
the
to.
3rd year. But if we're going to adopt it now, we don't need a 1/3 year.
I would agree. I don't have a copy of that resolution from.
He's bringing it right now.
He's digging it out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care about the resolution right now. Everybody needs to see the proposals.
He's bringing it all. Gonna snow tomorrow.
The next day.
And the
or
next
the
day.
next day.
And the next day.
And then it's gonna rain on it.
Yeah, it is gonna rain, it's not gonna be pretty.
What's the weather like Friday, Saturday?
Haven't heard yet.
Snows end
I
Friday.
think Friday's
Saturday, Sunday.
dry.
Yeah, I was just curious with parents coming up for
Yeah.
graduation.
Oh,
So I'm
that's
dying to know what class you're in.
State and local government. It's
What number is that?
I think it's 240.
Okay.
Who's your,
See how if I hit too small.
Oh, I don't,
Yeah.
we know him. I know
It
him.
was an online course? Class is online. It is? Yeah. So have you ever met it? Yeah, that's exactly mine. I like it.
Thank you, sir. You did the resolution too?
I don't know if I like it.
All right.
I
Thank you.
like what I'm learning about.
Okay, onward and upward.
Thank you.
Is it?
Well, but little more.
Pat spent quite a bit of time going over the proposals and based on prior experience, et cetera, and their proposals, he recommends you first be given the agreement again.
they're longer, aren't
Carhartt really becomes, yeah, got me. We've been trying to simplify that process. It got a little bit complex and convoluted over the last round or two, and a lot of options that made it difficult for staff when they were returning uniforms and they needed replacements, and we enabled them to upgrade to Carhartt, but they got fewer units. We're going to try and streamline that a bit, pull back on that a bit. The next item we get into is draft resolutions, and I've got 4 on my list that you don't have. But again, we're end of the day added attractions, if you can sort of bear with me through that a bit too. You all have the minutes, let me know if you see anything, please. Justice Court Security. The rate for 20, well, I want to say it, I'm going to find it first, I guess. The charges for 2015, I believe, are down. I don't know. I guess, okay, this is when she would pass. Okay. Have us pass this coming meeting. Last year, the services were 3201. This year, they are going to be 3155. The time and a half last year was 4802. We're looking going forward at 4733. So the prices are down a little bit. So we don't usually argue that. Office of the Sheriff, right after minutes?
I have it, I
Okay.
just was trying to find out the packet.
All right, I'm gonna assume we don't have too many problems with that. The next would be the MOU as amended through our discussions today for Monday. Awarding a contract for IT services, we would have on tap for Monday as well. This draft, of course, has to be updated. Organizational meeting for 2015.
That was a long one.
Debbie's been trying to be proactive, God bless her. I haven't read through all these. I'd be less than honest if I didn't say so. We spent time on ones such as our town board meetings, which would be resolution 2 for 2015. We followed the same pattern as this year, with cancellations and rescheduling and so on, including the December schedule.
And you wouldn't want to change it to Tuesdays this year?
We only did that about 6 months ago.
Feels that way, doesn't it? I'm just thumbing through to see if I see anything of any special, unique nature. You might want to do the same while we're here. It just comes too fast to leave it for the last minute. Most of it is cookie cutter. I haven't seen anything that isn't, that is unique or different from the previous year. I have the one on Resolution 11, the investment policy. This is another item that our audit committee responds to, just to make sure everybody's aware of that. Most, like the official newspaper, again, we don't have much option on. Deputy supervisor, I don't know if I got a chance to formally ask, but I'm hoping Mr. Mannix would continue to serve in that capacity. The town historian,
Put you on the spot, you know? Just put you on the spot.
the hall conversation, well, we're working on a deputy town historian recommendation for that right now that I think you'd be pleased with. Court clerks, we don't see
Well, our
any.
historian's gonna stay, right?
I believe so.
You're pointing him.
Court clerks, we don't anticipate any change. Dog control officer, again, Dave is just outstanding in that role. Mr. Madonna, again, as deputy town attorney. The website management, as indicated, Kimmel Services. Dave does a great job, he's very honest. Good services. Deputy dog control is in as in the past, same individual. Election workers, again, we have little to nothing we can do about that. Website management, EAS.
Is that a duplication? 19 and 24?
I was just gonna say,
Website, it was,
Looks like exactly the
Exactly
same.
the same thing.
they are.
Yeah, I just cut your time down.
Keep going.
And it goes
Yeah,
from-
but
it
now
goes-
he's gonna have to
It
be
goes from
involved.
19 to 24.
25 becomes 24.
No, let's stick another, we got till January 5th, we
Gotta
can find
stick-
some other rule, resolution
Gotta
to stick
stick
in there.
something in there for 24.
Need a new 24, that will be our,
Just find one,
Thank
I'm
you.
sure we can find another resolution.
It goes from 19 to 24.
we,
Oh, Bernie, we got another,
What?
yep,
go from 19 to 21.
Yep. yeah, we do. We,
You
in
do?
21 to 23.
And 21 to 23.
Yep, these have to be renumbered. One of the things that happened in the 11th,
Isn't 20 the one that was in, that we just discussed for the, 22 was the fire district and,
It's just create a number.
one of the things that we did in the 11th hour that reduced this, and it's going to save a lot of work, we used to perpetually reappoint positions that we don't have to reappoint. Those that are appointed and serve at the pleasure of, other than the town attorney is technically 2 years, the others would continue in the position until you appoint someone else.
But
And we pulled a lot of those away.
Tom is right. You've got in the front of this book, you've got resolution 1520, the committee appointments, and you got 1522, the fire district liaison appointments. Okay, so you've got the fillers between 19 and 20.
the only one you gotta change is the one that's 24 because it was the same ones,
You heard that from them yet?
the same. as-
20 and 22 are in there somewhere?
Yes,
Yes.
at the beginning of the
We
book.
made appointments to go on inspection and that.
And you actually got, we got Art Grove's appointment as a resolution that can go in there.
Send them the hard copies.
Although it's probably gonna go in there earlier.
Each location.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to start that right away.
You see, 22 is the
So
fire
there's
district
no,
liaison,
like this year to say, oh, I'm sorry. no,
Yeah.
We didn't know about it, so.
so you don't have to worry about
Long-
Well, I wasn't worried about it because the numbers just all had to be done. This is very draft.
my papers were stuck together when I was going through it. I wanted to talk about 1503, addressing the town board during public meetings. I know that there's been a bit of a long-standing thing where individuals can address this during their work sessions, but given the fact that members of the public very rarely, we have a full attendance of our board session meetings, I think we need to go back to reconsidering that. In addition, there isn't the attachment of the guidelines, and I'd like to see the guidelines before it's attached as well, because I was not on the board when these were adopted the last time. So.
Okay, the conduct of board meetings, yeah, we need to get that out, look at that, revise that. That I get. What was your second comment?
I think that public comment should be able to be made during our regular board meetings as well.
I would disagree. I mean, this is what we're here for, is discuss
Yeah,
it,
that-
I'm sure, I would disagree.
I likewise disagree.
I think in having, gone to some city council meetings and having been to Peru and seeing what Beekman Town does, again, not many members of the public tend to come to our meetings. I think by having that, if there's a resolution that is soon to be looked at late to the agenda, it doesn't necessarily mean individuals can comment on that resolution, so.
But the big difference is the taping of that meeting. I'm not sure what
Like if something were to change or to be needed to, I mean, we've made changes at our regular scheduled meetings where, you know,
absolutely.
but it might benefit the council to hear from the public on the changes before we actually vote on
But
them.
they're not going to know because the changes oftentimes happen 15 minutes before we go out.
They could come to our pregame in the sense that if
It won't
information
happen.
is, it may not happen, but that's,
Clay just is opening Pandora's box again. Anybody can make any comment if they hear something on the first Monday that they want to make comment, they can come the second Monday and make their comment.
I'm just sharing my perspective.
Oh, I'm just sharing mine, but I feel pretty strongly about that. What saith the rest of the gallery?
I just think we had that system in place and we found it flawed.
In what way?
Huh?
In what way was it flawed?
It was abused. It was seriously abused. We had people who were, we had people who were coming to the meeting for the purpose of simply making a speech in front of the camera.
Or disparaging
Not
members
to
of-
come, not coming to the meeting to talk to, not coming to the meeting to talk to us. Okay? And if the purpose of having an opportunity to address the board is to address the board, you know, they haven't been denied anything, they can come and address the board.
But in reaction to that, and certainly there's many municipalities around the state and obviously the country, but just looking at the cities, for example, you know, in their rules for public comment, it very clearly states, you know, that no individual really should be addressed, called out to task. And then it also basically says that if the individual, you know, is not following this, they may be asked to sit down or, you know, asked to leave the process. You know, in addition to that, I sometimes think that groups can come and, you know, there may be an individual, you know, or more people want to speak to that. They even say when a meeting is attended by a group who share the same opposing views on public comment, the presiding officer may require that groups designate not more than 2 spokespersons, limited the total time for public comment to 10 minutes. So I think there's different ways to manage that. And as a new council member, I'd like us to reevaluate that.
Tell me this, just let me ask, what I don't understand is that they can come and do that like tonight, anybody can come and talk.
Sure, but as a member of the public though, that's 2 times during the month versus 4 times during the month. But here's the other part to it is, we're an outlier on this, looking at other municipalities. We are the outlier, you know, so.
We're the outlier because we're televised. That's the outlier factor.
But I think there's other municipalities that are also.
Well, I mean, I don't care one way or the other, frankly, but I'm just saying it only gives them an opportunity twice a month. The county only meets twice a month.
Many boards meet once a month.
Many boards, every other town I'm with, they meet once a month.
Yeah.
And they're not on TV. So what you're saying is twice a month isn't enough?
I think giving folks the opportunity, again, no one's beating our doors down. So-
That's right.
Then that indicates there's not a problem, presumably.
In other words, what I'm saying is, what, the proof was in the pudding.
Mhm.
We had a parade of people that were coming in. I mean, we had meetings and granted, we did not have in place a regulation that said, you know, appoint people and limit them to 10 minutes and whatever, like that. So we had meetings where, you know, they went out for 45 minutes, stuff, with speeches. You know, I got 5 minutes and I'm gonna give it to so-and-so and that kind of thing.
We had stuff
But
in
anyway,
place, but it was
could I-
hard to stop somebody when they were there. And if 10 people wanted to talk about the same topic, it's Pandora's box. I mean, the fact you can do the same thing twice a week in this environment doesn't, I don't think.
And all we said was, we have a meeting where we have official town business to conduct, and we have a meeting that is a workshop session where we discuss matters or whatever. And we moved the open speaking period to the workshop session.
So people couldn't speak at the workshops before?
No, before, no. And we moved it to that, okay? And the only thing that's different is, we don't have a television camera going, okay? And we have very little in the way of public comment. We do have public comment, and the public comment is reasonable, it's measured. We don't have people giving, these impassioned speeches that go on for a long period of time, okay?
Don't have people.
Well, what I don't know, Mike,
You don't have
is
people.
that
We don't have
mean?
twice a
Okay,
month
but-
seems like a
You
good
cut off
number.
the
I don't know
conversation.
anybody that has more than that. I don't know if there's another, I've never heard of, maybe like New York City, they have it every week, I'm not even sure about that. But like I said, the county's twice a month, all the towns I represent, or did represent once a month. So to say we require 4 times a month, it seems, and not only that,
And part of it, again, is just, it's a matter of perspective, It's not, I think it's about the access. You're right, some people, come and don't come.
but you're saying it's a
But-
perspective, the access is just twice a month?
No, the access is every day of the week, I'm in my office,
No,
somebody,
but
you're
I,
on the phone.
no, but I'm
number.
saying, if somebody does want to come, they can come twice a month. That's, and like I said, in any other town,
Yeah.
it's once a month, and we have it twice a month. And I'm trying to argue with you, your argument seems to be, we need it 4 times a month.
How often does the city council meet?
I don't
Every
know.
Thursday.
Every Thursday?
Yeah.
Right.
So do they have public comment every Thursday then?
I don't know how the city works really.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying is, I would like to encourage us to look at it and to reevaluate it. Think, to do things just because that's how we've always done them,
Well, I
to
don't-
me, it is not a good management
I think
approach.
that is, but
We
that,
made a change, we're not doing it as we've always done
we
it.
changed it. And the thing of it is, if there is a reason for change, and maybe if you can say, if you could convince me why 4 times a month, or why twice a month is insufficient, then that would be something, but if we weren't allowing it at all, but if we're only allowing once a month, or if you're allowing it twice a month, your argument seems to be, why shouldn't it be 4 times a month? I just don't.
But I don't think it's a matter of 4 times, I think it's, if we're gonna meet, then why not provide that opportunity?
I think one of the other things that happens is those 2 meetings are opportunities to govern, to function as a legislative unit without going through what can become a very intimidating process, which is sometimes generated for the purpose of swaying and driving the opinion at that moment when you've had the opportunity for discussion, you've done the research, you've discussed the resolution, we'll say in a work session. Now you're ready to go make a decision, but before you do, suddenly I have, the potential to be dissuaded from everything I've done because I have a group in front of me that is altering the decision.
The other thing too is,
That's a concern.
are these city meetings televised? Yeah.
From my understanding, yeah.
Basically, the meeting, which usually, the people spoke, basically, it's a criticism, which is good. But if you're gonna change what we're doing, then you speak at the meeting where we're discussing the things, then maybe criticisms, whatever they are, if you take it into account in terms of what we do, or it has certainly changed some things that we do.
Well, I think
So, that's where it should be, where we get a chance to discuss it.
And I think the other fold to it, and, I'm really happy that we're starting to put, our meetings, that we're putting out there online. We should certainly be doing it for our work sessions and, putting the information out to the public. It's not costing us any more, of Ricky's time to turn the camera on, to videotape these sessions and put it out to the public and stuff. between now and when we'll vote on it, I may change my opinion, and we can have some conversations, but from my perspective, in talking with other members, from seeing it myself, and I pretty regularly came to meetings, there were times that it was like, oh, okay, like, maybe I might have wanted to comment on that. The intimidation factor or in various things, I'm one person, we all have a perspective that we add to this. But as a new member to the council, to me, this was worthwhile bringing up and saying, I think we need to look at it, and if not, in a couple of months, after we pass this, if we do some more research and see what other municipalities are doing, from their style, it may be worthwhile revisiting.
Yeah, I think all of that is true. I think one thing is, when a meeting is televised, I think there's two things. Sometimes people who do want to be on TV come on TV, but there are a lot of people who would like to come and make a comment, but if they knew they're going to be televised, I think that is a concern they have. Some people don't like that aspect, so.
The radio station has stopped broadcasting city council meetings. They used to broadcast it every Monday night.
But you say they're being
Or
televised?
Wednesday night.
From my understanding, they're being televised.
Pardon?
I said, from my understanding,
Oh, I think they are.
They are being
I
televised.
think they're on the public access.
Oh, yeah.
so, and again,
They're all-
I guess part of
Okay.
what I have heard and what I am advocating for, as we're about to have another council member here, is, to kind of say, yeah, things have been going a particular way, personal observation, I'd like to have a conversation about why do we do it this way, how can we potentially change it, and maybe there's a combination thereof, but I certainly have an interest in looking at what other municipalities are doing and seeing if we can come to, a compromise and common ground. So.
Rick, do you have any comment on taping the work sessions and having those put on our website as well?
We're allowed every Monday at the cable company. What they do is replay the previous week twice. That's what they're doing.
So we'd have a new show every week if we did work sessions too.
Correct.
You have sufficient, whatever you need to do it?
Probably have to buy a couple more chips, that's all.
That's all. Dave would put those up for us. I know there's a nominal fee for that. It's not an expensive thing. So why don't we start that first of the year, just to have a benchmark time. We'll record and have posted our work sessions.
All you gotta do is buy 2 more chips, that's all. Because we have 2 now.
Mhm.
Because when it runs from the recorder, the old one is down, and then I just swap them back and forth, so I'd have to buy 2 more, that's all.
Maybe not.
I don't think we need to
I don't think you need to
Do which?
tape them all.
You can jip ours.
Why? It
Sorry, yeah.
begs the question, why?
It's already on.
Well, it's not on public TV for public access, and it's not on the town's website if anyone wanted to come and see if we talked about something.
You can
And is
jip
it-
ours. You
Why?
can jip mine. Not a problem. It'll be up
I
to
would be
Rob.
hesitant to do that, I just don't think it's a good practice. We're relying on you for that. If we're gonna do it, we should just do it.
Capabilities of doing it.
Absolutely,
not a
it
big
takes 2
deal.
seconds to do
We have,
it.
no, that, we have our own.
I know, Dave can do
We end up
it.
with the same situation we did before, people coming in and I took offense to the fact that we're constantly berated and everything. They certainly can say you're wrong with this, or you have the wrong ideas, we don't like what you're doing on this. But they tear into individuals and everything else. And I will not, I'm not gonna sit here and have
Well,
that
yeah,
happen.
but that was-
I walked down on one of those meetings and I'll do it again, because I'm sick or tired of that kind of thing,
But maybe that wouldn't happen again.
you know.
Well, we could have guidelines that we have.
And Tom, I'm not saying that I know everything here. I think what is a benefit of when we get together on a Monday night, particularly for a work session, is before we, endorse, and pass something, is to have this conversation. I'm just shooting up the flare in the sense that my observation is that there is other systems in place, other municipalities are doing things. Have we looked at it, what potentially could be reevaluated to structure something to provide opportunity for comment, so.
Do you know about a specific municipality?
Well, I was I think that, I was using the city, I'm pretty sure that the city is every week, because they're basically meeting every Thursday. Their rules for public comment are on their website. You know, so, you know, and they're the ones that are talking about, you know, groups, you know, coming together. They're also referencing the handbook for city officials, blah, 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 adopted from the New York Com. So, I mean, again, there may be other types out there. I haven't
How
necessarily
many
seen.
times is the county on,
On what?
the county legislature, how many times on
On what?
TV?
It's not on TV at all?
Not on TV at all. How many times are there comments made there, how many times did they have?
But my argument on this, we're not the county.
Yeah.
So, and again,
I
it's
guess we're a
just,
lot better, but anyway, that's not.
Wait a minute, every time.
so you know, we can go back to this and have, you know,
County has comments.
so.
Well, we don't need a resolution to start taping the work sessions, if that's what everybody, or certainly the majority feels would be important to share. I mean,
I
they're
used to, but I
casual,
don't anymore.
pardon?
I used to, but I don't anymore.
Yeah. They're casual sessions that are important. They're sessions where we can be missing a document, somebody can get up and go copy it. You know, we can go back and find supporting documentation as opposed to a formal meeting. But because they're taped, which they are whether we do it or not, you have it's sort of like when, you know, Aunt Sarah comes to the house, the kids have to behave a little different. Barbie watched, and you have to be a little more conscious of your comments. And we probably should anyway. I mean,
Well,
yeah, we're all guilty, I think, sometimes, because it's a small community.
In a taped environment,
You
you
can't
can't
do it.
speak freely either.
No, but you
And
shouldn't.
that's one of the drawbacks of the whole thing.
Yeah, but there may be things in our position that we would
But we're
say,
taped anyway.
if it isn't taped, that we still shouldn't say. It still may not be appropriate.
Well, I
That
can
we're
assure you,
taped
I haven't talked freely for the last year or two.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference, and I mean, I totally
That may be
understand.
good though, Tom.
It may be for you, yeah, you guys have,
I've been briefing. That's been one of the things.
Well, you talk to the state about it, because they're the ones that said we can do it.
Oh, they say you can, and they encourage it.
Absolutely.
Why would they do that?
It always amazed me, going door to door, the number of people who actually watch this.
Yeah.
They really do. I personally, I just don't think I would, unless,
Well,
you know, if there was a topic I had some vested interest, I may start paying attention, but
I won't mention the people's name that was in today, but I said
it's a
to
good
them,
thing.
I asked them that I haven't seen them come in here, and that's one of the reasons. He said, but with the new child that they have, and they're at home more, they spend a lot more time there, but they do watch it on Monday night.
Yeah,
I'm
people do.
gonna acknowledge, and
Absolutely.
you're, you know, call me a nerd or whatever you want, but like, when Olivia and I first got cable, you know, I was excited for C-SPAN and the New York State, you know, Assembly. Not that I'm watching it 24 hours a day, but I think that there's a certain level of access that, you know,
Such can.
politically, you know, and civically driven individuals have a sense of it's there.
Yeah.
It may not be something that I'm gonna go to all the time, okay? I'm not gonna admit, you know, that I watch the Kardashians or anything like that, okay? That's really horrible, okay? But,
That's for Jerry.
you know, I say that from the sense of, I think people, you know, not everyone have a sense that they're reassured that there's the ability to tap into that and to see it in their own words.
Yeah.
So,
But they can see it. Every meeting's televised.
Bernie?
Yeah.
Could I say that, sitting on this side of the table, it's infinitely more interesting to come to a work session.
Oh, I would agree.
And I would say that this is really something that I've always felt that should be on television, because this is where the deliberative process and all the ideas are spawned.
I think there
Am
are,
I right? She's a student, you
there are
know,
many
she's been to
times in our
2
regular
meetings.
session where you read it past it as a report, read it past it. You almost stop and want to make a comment, because if you're just watching,
It's a big
it's-
yawn.
why are we there? It's just, you know, cookie cutter, pre-decided. No, I mean, we need some I see him, I'm ignoring him. I'll get back to it. I'm ignoring him right now because I want to finish my thought. I think we've come to a consensus at least that we should begin. Ricky's indicated he can. And I think it's our responsibility if we're gonna do it, not to rely on anybody and, you know, you do what you want and we'll with yours and, you know, we'll post, it's appropriate that way.
No, that's good.
And then we have
That's
those
good.
archives as well.
That's right, that's good.
You know, we can start that. I'm just thinking the first of the year, just because it's kind of a nice first of the year thing to do.
Then we should, if you're gonna do it, then we have to do it in the other room, so it's all piped in, so everything.
Well, do you have a microphone on the camera?
It doesn't work that great.
You can't
Unless
just
you
turn the
use
camera
it.
this way?
Huh?
You can't just turn the camera this way?
Why don't you try one?
I did.
It's about-
You should be able to do an external mic.
Rick, let's,
It doesn't, it
Yeah,
does
yeah,
not
you can-
pick up the volume or the people
This is
talking.
so much better. That by its nature, it's informal.
you
Well,
should have
if you're going to go that way,
an aux cable.
why not just meet in here all the time and put the microphones in here and do it without the formality?
No, we want to look and act like a Class A time when we're doing the business of the people. The work sessions, we want to get around the table and work. We'll work out the speaker stuff. We should be able to technologically make that work.
You can put an external speaker on, it's
Huh?
easy.
Yeah, you can pipe some more in.
If we had one or two mics just on the
Meet on the
table.
other side then.
One of those
And discuss things over
omnidirectional
there.
right in the middle should work.
That's fine too, if you wanna do that.
What's that?
Well, just meet over there each time instead of coming in here, just go over there. Well, you know, we could discuss all things over
He
there.
can't spread his stuff out.
Those are the
so-
details between now and then, I think we can work out.
Okay.
But
Yeah, but I
Well,
think-
since you've all decided that.
Tom?
My input would be that this would encourage or would go along with the concept of open government. The impression that you are open and publicizing your discussions, your work session,
You mean, I'll put this on TV.
to put this on TV or to
Yeah,
put.
we're gonna start doing it January 1.
I think
You know, we really don't get the minutes and all of this, and the discussion is not seen by the general public.
I think there's an
What do you
aspect
think?
to that maybe would be good for the general public to maybe put a little more effort to actually coming,
Yeah.
right?
But I'm,
That
these,
chance.
It's always
What you
been
do,
an
is this on YouTube?
indicator when
Yeah,
people didn't
no,
come.
well, yeah,
things
it,
were
well,
going
you can
well.
access it
So
through.
anybody can watch
If you
it
talk
as
about
it is.
something
Absolutely.
controversial, that's directed.
That's why I said you
at one
can
certain
jip
area,
it.
you
Yeah.
will
You
get
can take
people.
mine and put it on yours, just from my YouTube.
But we
I
should
think you
take
don't have to do
ownership
that.
of that. It's
Well,
always a place we should.
Well, anyway, but that's not the point. The point is that every meeting is on, anybody has access to any meeting, anytime.
That's
It's on
right.
TV anytime.
That's right, for years.
If you look back in the
Only
years
2 years.
that it's been taped since the inception of taping here,
Yeah.
there has been very little attendance to the meeting. Period.
Before that, we chiseled it on stone.
Yeah, well, there's, you know,
Was there more attendance prior to the putting this on public access?
No,
No,
Jen?
no.
that's never changed.
Yeah,
So it's never
I
changed.
was
It doesn't
on-
matter.
I was on the board when we started
Mary
this,
Fogarty.
and it-
Mary and
Mary and
husband.
Mary and Jim.
Andy's way started
When
taping.
Art LaFave
Yeah.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she had Channel 57 for the big one.
We used to
Larry, it
have,
was never,
I
it
think
was,
it was three,
Pardon?
it was
we
never,
used to have
it wasn't.
3, 4 people at the meeting.
No, it was just board meetings.
Yeah.
It was just board meetings.
All right,
And the
If
public,
you had
public
6 people,
attendance has not changed
no.
since Marty was on the board. If it's something.
Don't blame it on me.
If it's something that
Mary Fogarty.
concerns
Ever since Marty,
specific area.
Ever since Marty got on the board.
Oh, yeah.
If you weren't,
You said
when you
one-
were here, Marty.
Before you got on this
We're
board.
gonna do
We're gonna
this.
put sewer on Cumberland Head.
Are you have more things on the
Oh,
agenda?
We're gonna
we still
rezone
have some
Katy
things to
Farm.
go, boys and girls.
All right.
Okay, I'm just moving the agenda. I think we made some decisions, we made some changes and some.
Take your books home and read them.
Codes and zoning monthly report you don't have, that's a new one that I have for you. This will be out there.
we need another one, Bernie.
Yep.
3 and 1 more. I don't think there's anything noteworthy at this point. If you have questions, concerns,
No, but it's a good report.
stop me. It's a good report. Highway superintendents is next. That's, again, the typical stuff. Parks and Recreation. Planning Department, the only thing I'm sure I don't have to say it, and I won't say it when we're up front, but this is a planning agenda because I've seen it 9 years.
Yeah.
That's an oddity. Doesn't mean there's not much going on, but that's an oddity, believe me. I think I mentioned, I don't know if you were all there, we're working on the annual, it's become our annual now, New Year's happy thank you to the businesses and the people that expanded and invested in the town. I always worry every year at this time, will we have that number? Oh my goodness. It really makes you look back on, the previous year, and that's so important. We also have the town clerk's report, and there's
Comment on the town clerks, if I could.
Yep.
You have 2 letters that Ricky sent to our perennial,
The movie theaters.
thank you. I
One of them
find
came
a
back,
good way
right?
to portray that, but these 2 companies, well, one of them especially, is consistently late in sending their money in for a permit. And we've threatened year after year that if it's not in, they don't get to show their movie on January 1st.
Which one did you get, Ricky?
Neither one's in yet, I just asked.
No, because, well,
Oh, it shows on this report that one is.
not only did I give them a hard copy, but I faxed them the copy prior to mailing it. And I also mailed it to the movie theater manager in this area. Both of them have it. So there's no reason why somebody can't communicate back and forth to send a check.
So if there's no movies as of January 1st,
Home P.
Well, we'll be the bad guys, but this is something that's happened in the last 3 or 4 years.
I can't
You're
ensure
navigating the corporate world, I
You just
mean,
gotta keep going,
I-
plug
I-
away, you'll get them eventually.
they always pay,
They
right?
can't get it, they
I
can't
think
get
what
a
we do
permit
is we
until,
recommend Redbox to everybody.
well, they
I don't
can't
know what
get,
that does for my sales
Yeah, I was
tax.
gonna
so.
say, what
they
do we
can't get a
get
permit
ourselves
until Stevie, the fire-
That's number one.
Stevie and the fire marshal as being his capacity. The fire marshal sends a letter to me that says, I am satisfied, they meet all the requirements, they don't have any problems, but with any of the emergency doors or the lighting or none, then they get it.
That's the important one. The money will come, but
The money's
you
gonna
can't
come
do it
one
without
way or
the
another,
inspection.
but he's got the last say on it.
that is
Well,
number one.
Is there the ability to do a penalty for lateness?
Do we want to?
I don't know, I'm just
We
saying.
end up with a local manager who's fighting with their corporate structure.
Well, I think Michael's right on
Nothing
that.
wrong with a
Well,
penalty.
I think a penalty is a
We're aware of it
wonderful
because
idea.
last year
Especially
with
Just
the
say
letter
keep
that
the
we
movie
sent
going, but
them,
for, it's so much per day.
Right, we were talking about earlier this year that there's individuals in town hall that their time is valuable. If we're constantly having to go back to the same situation
I agree.
over and over and
That's a
over
good
again.
point.
You're absolutely
I like
right.
that.
You
That's
know,
what it should.
if I contract with someone locally for a service and they send me a bill, down the bottom, very often it says, if you do not remit payment within 30 days or whatever, it's gonna be a 10% surcharge or what have you. I think we should be doing the same thing, their corporation knows when these things are coming in.
Find some language, we'll have to
Oh,
change
perfect.
our.
Absolutely,
Is
it's
that
simple.
set by local law, or is that just a resolution we gotta do? all
We can do it by
that?
resolution.
Just do that research, get the language.
No, I think the penalty, that way you don't shut it down, but it keeps going up.
I thought you were gonna say the penalty would be they have to show our work sessions instead of.
And
that's a
management has to watch
Bernie,
it.
it's gone too long, it's only about an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, that would test their
But
metal.
they're all aware of the situation anyway. So
Yeah.
Well, you're doing your job much better than ever, getting out early, and I mean, that's good, and
That's a good.
you wanna put a penalty on, but if we're gonna do that, with that one, let's think about any other similar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same thing, because you're compensating the extra time and work to chase it. I don't have a problem with that.
No.
I really don't. I distributed the
You have
water,
a
so,
penalty on taxes, you don't pay your taxes?
of course, I'm
Well,
happy.
pay it
It's all
for-
about do it on
You wanna go
time.
penalty, you can do it to the dog. I just had a
Yeah.
couple that came in today, I sent them a letter, that this is since April. Every month, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. I sent them the thing and said if it's not paid by the end of the year, David's going after him again. And he came in today.
Oh, yeah, it should be a penalty, absolutely.
Now it runs out, they paid it,
They're gonna
but
run
their
out.
license renews again in April, because that's the way it is. So-
And then they're gonna move to another town, and that'll be another whole situation.
You're gonna snip that out for us?
Yeah.
Okay, next is the Morrisonville Schuyler Falls Volunteer Ambulance Service contract, which I believe you have. The short of that is the agreement looks the same. I'll say terms and conditions. The minimum went up slightly and the maximum stays the same. They proposed a higher maximum. I haven't heard back. I simply sent to them the response, no.
Yeah, you lowered what they wanted for a maximum, and they
Raised
increased
the minimum.
what they wanted the minimum by 2%.
Yeah.
That was what the increase.
So, but again, it's end of the year and it's to our advantage to have something in place before we start getting calls out. CVPH, we have agreed to simply extend the existing agreement.
Same-
Terms,
same
conditions, everything. I basically have to go through the agreement and change the date. So that's in
And
place.
the name is not changing?
The name does
Still
not
gonna be
change,
ENT,
according to Mr.
CVPH?
Legree.
Okay.
It's not the University of Vermont?
It is not that. The next one is new, we have a 3% site plan deposit return. I mean, these are the ones, you don't really balk, these people want their money back, and if it comes in the 11th hour, I think we try to roll with the punch on that. There's nothing unique about it, simply Plattsburgh RV Park. I haven't reviewed the resolution that Deborah did, but I will. If you see anything, you're encouraged. The last one is the uniform agreement. Ricky got copies for that for us, I guess. So we're in good shape. I will add one for IT services. And
Is that one on
It's up there.
the- It's on the list that we have.
I don't have a resolution for that yet.
Oh,
It doesn't have a number.
we do.
Do you have a draft resolution
Yeah.
for IT?
Somewhere, yeah.
Did we have one
It's in
earlier?
the front of the book.
Yeah.
In the packet of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
In the front of the,
But it's not even close to what we're gonna have, so don't worry about it, we're gonna have to redo the whole thing.
right here.
It's number
It's not correct.
14XXX for December 15th. For
Oh,
December
okay, okay,
15th.
okay, yep, I did see that one, yep. That's gotta be edited again.
yeah.
And that is it.
Did I just ask, I passed up the paper at the beginning, if anybody
Oh,
looked at it, and see if they wanna consider that for next year?
We'll pass
What
it
we
on.
talking about?
So when we do our monthly reports, to have one resolution for all of them? The only potential problem for that is there are times we don't get the reports in a timely fashion.
That's why you have the lines in front, you just put down which ones you have on there, and those will be ones passed.
Saves you a paper a month.
You'll have a 2-minute television program sometime.
Yeah, I understand the, what you're asking for, Tom, and I've seen it in effect, and in particular, if you like 12-minute meetings, it does a good job of bringing about 12-minute meetings, because you're gonna end up with, you're not gonna have, the clerk reading a resolution for the Parks and Recreation Department report, and reading a resolution to accept the report from the Water and Sewer Department, etc. Nor will you have, in all likelihood, questions about those reports. I for one don't care for the format. I think we have too much. It's like what came up earlier was another governmental entity which will go unmentioned in our community. And I don't care for how they function, because they function by committee, and the committees meet when nobody's there, and nobody knows what goes on in that government. You go to a meeting, and one person stands up, and they're the chairman of the majority, and they approve the committee report, and then the chairman you know, the minority approves the committee report and boom, you know, it's done. And people, if they are sitting there, haven't even got the foggiest idea of what it was that just got voted on. I don't think I don't think we're perfect, I don't think we're perfect by a long shot, but I think we have a far more transparent process in our meetings than I've seen in other entities. And I'm not in favor of that particular
The clerk
format.
would read all of the reports that were present for that particular time. You would say the names of each of the reports, and all the counselors take as much time as they want to comment on each and any report that they wish. I don't see any problem with that. The only thing it saves is 48 sheets of paper.
From a production end, it saves running 8 resolutions, say almost the same thing every time. I agree, I'm trying to process, like, the supervisor's report is still missing from a couple weeks ago because we still haven't been able to get that out of Harris. And I'm just a little worried, if I had this format, there's no report for the supervisor, then when we get it, do I use one of these and then there are no reports for all the others, but I just use this just for the supervisors? And where's my paper trail?
I think,
I'm not sure.
I think you can separate it out, you know what I mean, like, so we're using this format and say that there isn't the report, in the supervisor's report.
So delete it from the resolution?
No, someone would motion, like you would, you know, table something, you would say, I'd like to separate, you know, the supervisor's financial report, you know, in this situation, all's approved, okay, and then that's now part of the minutes that we've separated that out from this particular run of resolutions.
Well, we still have to do a resolution number, we could just delete supervisor's report because there is none.
Right.
And cluster the ones we have.
Or, what Tom is saying, you may want to discuss the supervisor's report separately.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
because there's something
Well,
unique about it. You want
in this instance, I mean, this is just an example of normal monthly reports. There may be others, and the supervisory report may be a separate report. Maybe you just want to have that separate. There's still all these other reports that hardly ever don't get approved. I've never seen one not get approved, I don't think. But yes, there's discussion on them, and there's questions sometimes, and that would still be.
Yeah, it's a report, you're not really making a decision on it, you're receiving a
Just
report of activity.
Yeah, you haven't, I mean, on these, we don't, if there's a regular resolution, yes, we amend it or whatever, but these are
Yeah.
the people's reports, we don't usually amend them.
Back to the transparency discussion, for every board member, but also for every community member, when they see a highway report, they see the report of what their highway department did that month. And that's where the real value comes. Where did the water sewer work that month?
Actually, they don't see
You
them.
don't see that.
Those
They're never
reports
put
don't get
online.
posted.
No.
Never online.
Only the resolution is online. The accompanying documents,
Are never
including the reports, do not show up anywhere.
Notwithstanding the fact that they're supposed to be.
You guys are the only ones to see those reports.
Needless to say, I don't look online because I have the originals.
Duh.
I didn't know,
And I
that
think
they
that's
absolutely should be
because
reported.
David doesn't get it.
Well,
He
I'm
doesn't.
sure he doesn't, he
No.
puts up what we give him,
That's right, and what
He's
he
just not
gets,
getting them.
what he gets is,
I'll
what
change
he
it.
gets
He
is an
doesn't.
agenda.
that's not a problem.
Well, I don't see that the transparency is gonna be gone because we have all these here. The clerk is reading each of the reports that are submitted for the month. And for the most part, like I say, every report is, how many times have we rejected a report?
No, you don't need
I
to
don't
act
recall
on
it.
it individually.
If it was online.
These are reports that the people give to us, and
We may table a report, you know,
Yeah.
because.
well, that's possible.
Because I have questions about it.
And that's where we would make a special motion
Right,
to.
but that's what I'm saying, you
I
can
don't think we've
remove it
ever
from.
tabled the report.
I don't think you table it either.
We've tabled resolutions from department heads. I don't think we've ever tabled
A
accepting
committee
a
may
report.
talk, yeah. It's a report of activity, you
Right.
can't,
How do
it's
you,
just what they did.
this is what your department head said they did. You know, I don't believe we've.
You may not like the report, but the report's a report.
Exactly.
There it is.
I mean, I see some merit to this. the only time it takes out is the reading of each one individually, same thing, same roll call all the time. And we always could isolate anything that we want to. If I don't have a report that month for this group, I'll delete it from the list. And when we have it, we'll put it in.
You still have each of the reports, everybody would still get each of the
Oh,
reports.
yeah, you have to have the reports. They just go.
Well, it would just be saving, having to put a separate page
It would
for
save,
each one.
there's no doubt that it wouldn't save.
I don't worry about it.
Good thinking, Tom.
But the most important revelation is these reports haven't been put online,
Ever.
so we'll deal with that. Work sessions are good, we learn things. If the consensus seems to be work with this, so I'll talk with Deborah and.
Well, it can be
she's the one
talked
who does
over
it.
more and you can make
See
some,
how-
everybody can discuss it. I only brought it up, not necessarily discuss tonight, but people to look at.
It expedites business and will save a little time, a little money.
I'll look at it.
We'll see how it fits. I don't have any other discussion for tonight. No one else does? We'll bag it at 9:26.